The blood-caked chains around the orc woman's wrists told Benedict Ashford he would not sleep well again, unless he did something monumentally stupid. He stood at the edge of the frontier market with his prize bull's lead rope in one hand and a sick feeling in his stomach. Around him, traders shouted prices for grain, leather, and people. The war between the human kingdoms and the orc clans had been grinding on for 3 years now, and every month brought more captives to these borderland auctions. Benedict had come to sell surplus barley. He had not expected to see a woman shackled to a post like livestock. She was tall, nearly 6 feet, with green skin that showed bruises beneath its olive tone. Her black hair hung in a matted braid down her back. Small tusks curved up from her lower jaw, and her pointed ears were notched with old scars. She wore the remnants of what might have been leather armor, now torn and filthy. But it was her eyes that stopped Benedict cold, dark and fierce, burning with a pride that no chain could dim. She met his stare without flinching, and something in his chest twisted hard. "Stop gawking and move along, farmer," barked the slave trader, a scarred man with a soldier's bearing gone to seed. "Unless you have coin." Benedict was 26 years old, and he had been working his small farm near the border for 4 years. He had no wife, no children, and no help except his bull. The bull was worth more than everything else he owned combined. A magnificent creature with a black coat and massive shoulders, bred from champion stock. With that bull, Benedict could grow his herd. Without it, he was just another poor farmer scratching at rocky soil. He looked at the orc woman again. She had turned her face away now, staring at nothing. But her hands were steady despite the chains. She was not broken, not yet. "How much?" Benedict heard himself ask. The trader's eyes lit with greed. 50 gold marks. She's healthy, strong, good for field work or whatever else you need. 50 gold marks. Benedict had maybe 3 to his name. He glanced at his bull. "I have no gold," he said slowly, "but I have that bull." The trader followed his gaze and let out a low whistle. "That is a fine animal, very fine." He rubbed his stubbled jaw. "Still, a bull is not gold. I would need something worth my while." "That bull is worth 80 marks at any market," Benedict said. It was true. He had been offered that much twice already. You could sell him tomorrow and pocket the difference. The trader's expression grew calculating. Around them, other merchants had stopped to listen. A captive orc was not unusual. A farmer offering his prize bull for one was. "Why would you do that?" the trader asked suspiciously. "You some kind of orc lover." "I am the kind of man who does not like watching people sold like animals," Benedict said quietly. "And that bull is all I have to offer." The orc woman's head turned sharply toward him. Her dark eyes were wide with something that might have been shock. "You want to buy her?" The trader sounded baffled now. "For what? You have no mine, no quarry. A farmer does not need a slave." "I want to free her," Benedict said. "Give her the papers and let her go." A hush fell over the nearby crowd. Someone laughed, sharp and mocking. The trader stared at Benedict like he had grown a second head. "Free her? Are you insane? She's an orc. They killed hundreds of our people last summer." "And we have killed hundreds of theirs," Benedict replied. His voice stayed level, but his jaw was tight. "The war is wrong. Selling captives is wrong. I will not pretend otherwise just because it is profitable for you." The trader spat on the ground. "You are a fool, farmer. That bull is your livelihood." "Yes," Benedict agreed. "It is." For a long moment no one spoke. The orc woman was staring at him with an intensity that made his skin prickle. Benedict could feel his future crumbling with every heartbeat. No bull meant no herd. No herd meant no money. He would be eating thin soup and stale bread for years. His neighbors would call him mad. He was mad, probably, but he knew he could not walk away. "All right," the trader said abruptly. "You have a deal, fool. Give me the bull and I will give you the papers." Benedict's hands shook as he handed over the lead rope. The bull snorted softly, familiar with Benedict's touch. He pressed his forehead against the animal's broad skull for just a moment. "Sorry, friend," he whispered. The trader passed him a rolled parchment, stamped with the local magistrate's seal. A certificate of manumission, already prepared for whoever might buy the orc. It just needed a signature. Benedict took out the stub of pencil he kept for market tallies and carefully wrote his name. Then he turned to the orc woman. "You are free," he said. Her eyes searched his face. "Why? Because no one deserves to be in chains," Benedict said. He looked at the trader. "Take them off, now." The trader grumbled but produced a key. The iron cuffs fell away from the orc woman's wrists, leaving raw red marks. She rubbed them slowly, never taking her gaze from Benedict. She was several inches taller than he was, and up close he could see the exhaustion etched in every line of her face. How long had she been captive? Days? Weeks? "You should get far from here before the traders change their minds," Benedict said quietly. "The border is northwest, about 2 days' walk. There are orc territories beyond. You will be safer there." She flexed her fingers, testing her freedom. "You gave away your bull." "Yes." "That bull was valuable." "Yes." "You are a fool." Benedict smiled, though it did not reach his eyes. "So I have been told." The crowd was dispersing now, the spectacle over. The trader led Benedict's bull away, already shouting about auction times. Benedict watched him go and felt a hollowness open in his chest. That bull had been his pride, his hope. Now it was gone, and he had a long walk back to a farm that would be much harder to keep without it. "I am called Wren," the orc woman said suddenly. "Wren Grimtooth, daughter of Thorgrim." Benedict blinked. Orc names often included titles or clan affiliations, but he had never heard one so formal. "I am Benedict Ashford, just a farmer." Wren's tusked mouth curved in something that was not quite a smile. "Just a farmer who trades his future for a stranger." Something like that. Benedict shifted his weight. "You should go. It will be dark soon, and this place is not safe for you." "Where will you go?" "Home. South, about 3 days on foot." He had sold his cart horse last winter to pay for seed. Everything he owned was slipping through his fingers, it seemed. "You walk alone?" "Yes." Wren looked northwest toward the border, then back at Benedict. He could see her thinking, weighing something. Finally she said, "I will walk with you, part way." Benedict started to protest, but she held up a hand. "You freed me. That makes you under my protection until I reach my clan. It is our way." "Your way also involves killing humans," Benedict said bluntly. "I do not need protection." "You just gave your most valuable possession to free an enemy," Wren said. "You need protection." Despite everything, Benedict felt a smile tug at his mouth. She had a point. "All right, but I have no food to share. I spent my last coins on the barley I came to sell, and I sold it this morning." "I have not eaten in 3 days," Wren said. "One more will not kill me." They left the market together as the sun dipped toward the horizon. Behind them, the sounds of trade and argument faded. Benedict had no idea what he was doing. He only knew that walking beside this fierce, exhausted woman felt right in a way that nothing had in years. The first night they slept under a rocky overhang, sharing the space without speaking much. Benedict had a thin blanket in his pack. He offered it to Wren, but she refused. "You are smaller," she said. "You need it more." He was 6 feet tall and built solid from farm work. "I am not small." "To me you are." But there was no mockery in her voice, only statement of fact. She settled against the stone with her arms wrapped around her knees. In the fading light, the bruises on her face looked darker. "How did they capture you?" Benedict asked. Wren was silent for a long time. He thought she would not answer. Then she said, "Raid. I was scouting ahead of my clan when a human patrol found me. There were 12 of them. I killed 4 before they brought me down. Benedict absorbed that. 4 men, he should have been horrified. Instead, he felt a strange respect. I am sorry. For what? That it happened. The war, all of it. Wren looked at him with those dark, unreadable eyes. You did not start the war, Benedict Ashford. No, but my people profit from it. He nodded toward where the market lay, miles behind them. Those traders, the slavers. They grow rich while we all bleed. Your people are not all the same, Wren said slowly. I see that now. Benedict pulled his blanket tighter. The night was cold and he was bone-tired. Get some sleep. We have a long walk tomorrow. You sleep first, I will keep watch. You have not slept in days. I am orc, she said, as if that explained everything. I can go longer than you. Sleep, Benedict. He wanted to argue, but exhaustion was dragging at him, and something in Wren's voice made him trust her. So he closed his eyes and he slept, and he did not dream. When he woke, the sun was just rising. Wren sat exactly where she had been, her gaze on the horizon. She looked as tired as before, but alert. Nothing came near, she said. You should have woken me. You needed the rest. She stood and stretched, her back popping. We should move. They walked through the morning in a companionable silence. The land here was scrubby and brown, caught between the rich farmland of human territory and the wild forests where the orc clans made their homes. Occasionally they passed other travelers, but no one bothered them. A man and an orc woman walking together was unusual, but in these border regions people minded their own business. Asking questions could be dangerous. Around midday, Benedict's stomach started growling loudly enough that Wren glanced at him. You need food. I will eat when I get home. That is 2 days away. I've gone hungry before. Wren stopped walking. Wait here. Before Benedict could protest, she veered off the path and disappeared into a copse of scrubby trees. He stood awkwardly, unsure what to do. 10 minutes later she returned with 2 rabbits, their necks cleanly broken. I will cook, she said. I have no fire starter. She gave him a look that might have been exasperation. You humans, so dependent on tools. She gathered dry grass and twigs, then took 2 stones from the ground. Within minutes she had coaxed a spark, then a flame. The fire was small and nearly smokeless. She skinned the rabbits with a sharp rock, working with practiced efficiency. Soon the smell of roasting meat filled the air. Benedict's mouth watered. Where did you learn to do that? My clan, Wren said. She turned the spit, watching the meat brown. We teach survival skills to all our children. Fire, hunting, tracking. How else would we live? I thought orcs lived in cities, strongholds. Some do. My clan prefers the old ways. We are hunters and warriors. She glanced at him. You think we are savages? No, Benedict said honestly. I think you are different. That is not the same thing. Wren studied him for a moment, then nodded slowly. You are strange for a human. So I have been told. They ate the rabbits in silence. The meat was tough but flavorful, and Benedict felt strength returning to his limbs. Wren ate ravenously, tearing into the food like she might never get another meal. When she finished, she wiped her mouth and let out a satisfied breath. Better. Thank you, Benedict said, for hunting. You freed me. It is the least I can do. You do not owe me anything, Wren. That is for me to decide. They reached a crossroads that evening. One path led south toward Benedict's farm. The other continued northwest toward the border. Wren stood at the junction, looking torn. This is where we part, Benedict said. Your clan is that way. You should go to them. What will you do without your bull? Benedict shrugged, trying to seem unconcerned. Work harder. Breed my cows to a neighbor's bull. I will manage. You will struggle. Yes. But I will sleep well, knowing I did the right thing. Wren turned to face him fully. In the fading light, her green skin seemed to glow. She was beautiful, Benedict realized with a start. not despite her tusks and pointed ears, but because of them. Because of the strength in her jaw and the fire in her eyes and the way she stood like she could take on the world and win. "You are a good man, Benedict Ashford." Something warm unfurled in Benedict's chest. "You are a good woman, Wren Grimtooth." For a moment, something passed between them. A recognition, a possibility. Then Wren shook her head. "I must return to my clan. My father will think me dead, of course." Benedict stepped back. "Safe travels, Wren." "Safe travels, Benedict." She turned and started down the northwest path. Benedict watched her go, feeling an unexpected ache. He had known her for less than 2 days. It was foolish to feel loss. But he did. Then Wren stopped. She stood still for a long moment, her back to him. Finally, she turned around. "Which way did you say was south?" Benedict pointed. Wren walked back to him. "I will go with you." "What?" "To your farm. I will help you for a time. Repay the debt." "There is no debt." "There is." Her voice was firm. "You saved my life and sacrificed your future doing it. I cannot leave you to struggle alone." Benedict's heart was pounding. "Your father can wait a little longer. He is chief of our clan. He has survived this long without me." She crossed her arms. "I am coming with you, Benedict. Do not argue." He should have argued. It was dangerous for her to linger in human lands. Dangerous for him to harbor an orc, even a freed one. His neighbors would talk. Some might try to drive her off, or worse. But looking at her determined face, Benedict found he could not refuse. "All right, but only until you feel the debt is paid." Agreed. They walked south together as stars began to prick the darkening sky. Benedict tried not to think about how right it felt to have her beside him. Tried not to notice the way his heart lifted at every word she spoke. He had been alone for so long. His parents were dead, his siblings scattered to other farms and towns. The loneliness of his life had been bearable because he had his work, his bull, his quiet pride. Now the bull was gone and the pride felt hollow. But Wren was here, and that made all the difference. They reached Benedict's farm 2 days later, arriving in the early afternoon. The place was modest. A small wooden house with a thatched roof, a barn that leaned slightly to one side, and 30 acres of rocky pasture. His 3 cows grazed near the fence, placid and unconcerned. It was not much, but it was his. "This is home," Benedict said, suddenly self-conscious. What did Wren see when she looked at it? Poverty? Failure? But Wren's expression was thoughtful. "It is good land. You work it alone." "Yes. I used to have more help, but my father died 3 years ago. My brother moved west." "And your bull pulled the plow." "Yes." Wren walked to the fence and studied the cows. They regarded her with mild curiosity. "You will need to borrow a bull from a neighbor, or trade for another draft animal." "I will manage something." Benedict rubbed the back of his neck. "There is only 1 room in the house, but the barn has clean straw. You can sleep there." "I have slept in worse places." They went inside. The house was tidy but sparse. A table, 2 chairs, a narrow bed in the corner, a fireplace, and a shelf with a few dishes. Benedict felt the poverty of it like a weight. "I will make us something to eat," he said. "I will help." They worked together in the small kitchen, falling into an easy rhythm. Benedict had dried beans and a bit of salt pork. Wren chopped the meat with a kitchen knife, her movements precise. As they cooked, Benedict found himself stealing glances at her. She moved with a warrior's grace, every motion efficient and purposeful, and when she caught him looking, she did not look away. She held his gaze, and something unspoken passed between them. "Why did you really come with me?" Benedict asked quietly. Wren was silent for a moment. "Because you are the first human who has treated me like a person, not a monster, not a slave, a person." "That is what you are, not to your kind. To me," Benedict said. Wren's tusked mouth curved in a small smile. "Yes, to you." They ate dinner in a silence that felt comfortable rather than awkward. Afterward, Wren insisted on helping him mend a broken fence post. She was strong, able to hold the post steady while Benedict hammered it into place. By the time they finished, the sun was setting and Benedict's arms ached. "Thank you," he said. "That would have taken me twice as long alone." "You need help here," Wren observed. "More than I can give in a few days. I will figure it out." She looked at him with those dark, searching eyes. "You are stubborn." "Yes, so am I." They stood together in the fading light, and Benedict felt the pull of her presence like gravity. He wanted to reach out to touch her hand to close the distance between them, but he did not. She had been captive, chained, brutalized. The last thing she needed was a man assuming he had any claim on her, so he stepped back. "I should get some rest. Tomorrow I need to talk to my neighbors about borrowing a bull. I will come with you." "That is not necessary." "It is," Wren said firmly. "If you go alone, they will cheat you. If I come, they will see you are not without resources." Benedict doubted that. More likely his neighbors would see him harboring an orc and think he had lost his mind. But he nodded. "All right." Wren went to the barn to sleep. Benedict lay in his narrow bed, staring at the ceiling. His bull was gone. His future was uncertain. And an orc woman he barely knew was sleeping in his barn, making his heart race every time she spoke. He was in trouble. Deep, complicated trouble. But for the first time in years, he felt alive. The next morning dawned clear and cold. Benedict rose early and found Wren already awake, feeding the cows handfuls of hay. She looked almost content. "They are good animals," she said, "healthy. My father bred them. He had an eye for cattle. You learned from him." "What I could." Benedict hesitated. "Are you ready to visit the neighbors?" Wren straightened. "Yes." They walked to the nearest farm, a larger spread owned by a man named Harold Dane. Harold was in his 50s, a widower with 2 grown sons. He was a hard man but fair, and he had the best bull in the region. Benedict had approached him before about breeding, but Harold's prices were steep. Harold was in his yard when they arrived, sharpening a scythe. He looked up as they approached, and his expression turned wary when he saw Wren. "Benedict, who is this?" "This is Wren. She is helping me on my farm." "Helping?" Harold's tone was flat. "She is an orc." "Yes, and you brought her here." "I did." Benedict met his gaze steadily. "I need to borrow your bull, Harold. My own is gone." "Gone?" Harold's eyes narrowed. "Where?" "I sold him." "You sold Thunder?" Harold looked incredulous. "That bull was worth a fortune. What did you spend it on?" "Surely not her." Benedict's jaw tightened. "What I spend my money on is my business." Harold stabbed the scythe into the ground and crossed his arms. "Let me guess. You did something stupid." "Something noble and stupid, and now you are paying for it." "Something like that." Harold looked at Wren, then back at Benedict. "I do not lend my bull cheaply." "I know." 10 silver marks for the season. It was twice the usual rate. Benedict felt anger flare, but he forced it down. 5. 8. 6, and I will mend your north fence. Harold considered that. 7, and you mend the fence. Benedict wanted to argue, but he had no leverage. "Fine. Good, but the orc does not come near my animals. I will not have her frightening them." Wren spoke for the first time. "I have no interest in your animals, human." Harold's expression darkened. "Watch your tongue, orc." "Her name is Wren," Benedict said sharply, "and she is under my protection. Speak to her with respect, or we have no deal." For a moment Harold looked like he might refuse. Then he spat on the ground. "Fine. Wren, you stay away from my stock and we will have no trouble." Wren inclined her head, her face unreadable. "Agreed." They left with the promise of the bull's loan, but Benedict felt shaken. Harold had been one of the kinder neighbors. If he reacted that way, how would the others respond? "I am sorry," he said quietly as they walked back. "I should have known he would be rude." He was not the first human to insult me, Wren said. He will not be the last. That does not make it right. No, she glanced at him. But you stood up for me. That was unexpected. Why? Because most humans would not risk angering a neighbor for an orc. Then most humans are cowards, Benedict said. Wren laughed, a sharp bark of sound. Yes, they are. Over the following days they fell into a routine. Wren was tireless, helping with every task. She mended fences, hauled water, and even helped Benedict plow a new field with Harold's bull. She was stronger than any farmhand Benedict had ever hired, and she never complained. In the evenings, they cooked together and talked. Benedict learned that Wren was 24, that she had 2 brothers, and that her mother had died in a human raid 5 years ago. She learned that Benedict's mother had been a weaver, that he liked to carve wood in his spare time, and that he had once dreamed of traveling beyond the frontier. "Why did you not go?" she asked one night as they sat by the fire. "My father got sick. I stayed to care for him. By the time he died, the war had started. Traveling became too dangerous." "Do you regret staying?" Benedict thought about that. "No, I loved my father." Being with him at the end was important. Wren nodded slowly. "You are a loyal man, and you are a loyal daughter. You miss your clan." "Yes," her voice was soft, "but I am not ready to leave." "Why not?" She met his eyes across the fire. "Because I am not finished here." Benedict's breath caught. He wanted to ask what she meant, but he was afraid of the answer, afraid that he was reading too much into her words. So he said nothing, and the moment passed, but the tension between them grew. It was in the way Wren's hand would brush his when they worked side by side. In the way Benedict caught himself watching her, memorizing the line of her jaw and the curve of her tusks. In the way they lingered over meals, reluctant to part for the night. Benedict knew he was falling for her. The realization was both exhilarating and terrifying. Wren was brave, fierce, and kind. She made him laugh. She challenged him. She saw him in a way no one else ever had. But she was orc and he was human, and the world did not look kindly on such unions. More than that, she would leave eventually. She had a family, a clan, a life beyond this small farm. He could not ask her to stay. 3 weeks after they arrived at the farm, a group of riders appeared on the road. Benedict was working in the field when he saw them, 5 men on horseback wearing leather armor and carrying swords. His stomach dropped. Soldiers or former soldiers turned bandits. Either way, trouble. Wren appeared at his side, her expression grim. "I see them. Go to the barn. Hide." "No." "Wren, no, Benedict. I will not hide while you face them alone." There was no time to argue. The riders were already turning toward the farm. They came to a stop in front of the house, and the leader, a man with a scar across his cheek, called out, "You there, farmer, come here." Benedict approached slowly, his heart pounding. Wren stayed a step behind him. The scarred man's gaze flicked to her, and his expression hardened. "Well, well, an orc, and here I thought we had cleared them all from this region." "She is a freed woman," Benedict said, "and under my protection." "Freed?" The man laughed. "Orcs are not people, farmer. They do not get freed. They get killed." The other riders chuckled. Benedict felt rage building in his chest, but he forced himself to stay calm. "She is free by law. I have the papers." "I do not care about your papers." The scarred man dismounted. He was tall and broad, his sword loose in its sheath. "Here is what is going to happen. You are going to hand over the orc, and we are going to take her back to the markets, maybe get a reward for recapturing an escaped slave, and you are going to pretend you never saw us." "No," Benedict said. The man's smile faded. "No, she is not going anywhere. This is my land. Leave, or I will report you to the magistrate." "The magistrate?" The man laughed again. "The magistrate is 3 days' ride from here. By the time you reach him, we will be long gone with the orc." He reached for his sword. Benedict tensed, knowing he was outmatched. But before the man could draw, Wren moved. She was faster than Benedict had ever seen. Her hand shot out and grabbed the man's wrist, twisting hard. He yelped and dropped to one knee. "Do not touch him," Wren said, her voice cold. The other riders spurred forward, but Wren was ready. She released the scarred man and snatched his sword from its sheath in one smooth motion. The blade sang as she swung it in a wide arc, forcing the riders back. "Leave," she said, "or I will kill you all." The scarred man scrambled to his feet, his face red with anger and pain. "You will regret this, orc." "I doubt it." For a moment the riders looked ready to charge. Then the scarred man seemed to think better of it. "This is not over," he spat. He remounted and jerked his horse around. The others followed, and they galloped back down the road. Benedict let out a shaky breath. Wren lowered the sword, her expression still fierce. "They will come back," she said. "With more men, I know. You should not have defended me." "Yes, I should have." Wren looked at him, and for the first time since he had known her, she looked uncertain. "Why, Benedict, why do you risk so much for me?" "Because I love you," he thought, but he could not say it. Instead he said, "Because it is the right thing to do." Wren's eyes searched his. Then she dropped the sword and closed the distance between them. "You are a fool," she said softly. "Yes." "A brave, stubborn, impossible fool." "Yes." She reached up and touched his face, her hand rough and warm. Benedict's heart was racing. "Wren, I am not leaving," she said. "Not now, not until this is resolved. Your clan can wait." Her thumb brushed his cheek. "You matter more." Benedict's breath caught. "I do." "Yes." He did not know who moved first. But suddenly they were kissing, her tusks pressing gently against his lips, her arms around his neck, his hands in her hair. She tasted like smoke and wildness, and Benedict felt like he was falling and flying at the same time. When they finally pulled apart, they were both breathing hard. "I should not have done that," Wren said, but she did not let go. "I am glad you did." "Benedict, this is complicated." "I know." "My people and your people are at war, I know. If we do this, there will be consequences." "I know." He cupped her face in his hands, looking into her dark eyes. "But I do not care. I want you, Wren. I want you to stay, not because you owe me, because he stopped, searching for the words. "Because my life is better with you in it." Wren's eyes glistened. "I want to stay." "Then stay." "For how long?" "As long as you want." She kissed him again, fierce and desperate, and Benedict held her like she might disappear. When they finally broke apart, Wren pressed her forehead to his. "We should prepare. Those men will return, I know. And when they do, we will fight, together. They spent the rest of the day fortifying the farm. Benedict had an old crossbow his father had kept for hunting. Wren fashioned a spear from a broken rake handle and a knife. They barricaded the windows and stockpiled water. It was not much, but it was something. That night they kept watch together, sitting side by side on the porch. "Tell me about your clan," Benedict said. Wren leaned against his shoulder. "My father is Thorgrim Grimtooth, chief of the Red Peak clan. We are one of the largest clans in the Northern Territories. My brothers are Crag and Vorak. Both are warriors." She paused. "I was supposed to lead a raiding party against a human settlement. That is why I was scouting when I was captured." Benedict absorbed that. "You lead raids?" "Yes." "And you kill humans?" "I have." Her voice was steady. "In battle, when they attack us, we defend ourselves. That is war, Benedict." He thought about that. She was right, of course. War was brutal on both sides. "Do you regret it?" "Sometimes. Not the fighting, but the deaths." "Every life lost is a waste." "Yes." "What about you?" Wren asked. "Have you killed?" "No, I have never been a soldier, but if those men come back, I will fight them, to protect you, to protect my home. You are braver than you think." "I am terrified." Wren took his hand. "So am I." They sat in silence, watching the stars. Benedict thought about the future. If they survived the next few days, what then? Could he and Wren build a life together here on this farm, or would the world tear them apart? He did not have answers. But sitting beside her, feeling the warmth of her hand in his, he felt something he had not felt in a long time. Hope. The riders returned 3 days later. This time there were 10 of them, all armed. They came at dawn when the mist was still rising from the fields. Benedict saw them from the window and felt his stomach clench. They are here. Wren picked up her spear. Stay inside, bar the door. I am fighting with you. Benedict, no arguments. She looked at him, then nodded. They went outside together. The scarred man sat at the head of the group, his expression smug. Last chance, farmer. Hand over the orc and we will leave you in peace. She is not leaving, Benedict said. His voice was steady, though his hands shook. Then you are both dead. The riders spurred forward. Benedict raised his crossbow, aiming at the scarred man. His finger tightened on the trigger. But before he could fire, a horn sounded in the distance, long and low, echoing across the hills. The riders jerked their horses to a stop, looking confused. The horn sounded again, closer now. And then figures appeared on the ridgeline. Orcs, dozens of them, armed and armored, descending toward the farm. Wren's eyes went wide. That is my clan. The orcs moved with terrifying speed, surrounding the riders. The scarred man tried to flee, but a massive orc with a scar-notched axe blocked his path. You threaten my daughter, the orc rumbled. You die. Father, Wren breathed. Thorgrim Grimtooth was enormous, nearly 7 feet tall, with green skin darker than Wren's and tusks that jutted proudly from his jaw. He wore armor made of layered leather and metal, and his presence was commanding. The riders looked ready to soil themselves. Please, the scarred man stammered. We did not know, you did not know she was a chieftain's daughter, Thorgrim said. You only thought she was an orc you could sell. That makes it worse, not better. He raised his axe. The scarred man screamed, but Wren stepped forward. Father, wait. Thorgrim paused. Wren, you live. I live, she gestured to Benedict. Because of him, he freed me. Thorgrim's gaze shifted to Benedict. It was like being studied by a landslide. This human freed you. Yes. He traded his prize bull for me. He asked nothing in return. A murmur ran through the orc warriors. Thorgrim's expression was unreadable. And these men, they came to take me back. Benedict stood against them, though he knew he would lose. Thorgrim looked at Benedict for a long moment. Then he said, You, human, step forward. Benedict's legs felt like water, but he obeyed. He stood before the massive orc chieftain, trying not to show fear. You freed my daughter, Thorgrim said. Yes. Why? Because it was the right thing to do. And you sacrificed your most valuable possession to do it. Yes. Thorgrim studied him. Then, to Benedict's shock, the chieftain knelt. It brought him eye level with Benedict. You saved my daughter's life. By our law, that creates a debt that must be repaid. There is no debt, Benedict said. I did not free her for a reward. That does not matter. The debt exists. Thorgrim stood. My daughter is the most precious thing in the world to me. You gave up everything to save her, so I will give you everything in return. Benedict blinked. I do not understand. You will. Thorgrim turned to his warriors. Take these men to the border and release them. With a warning, any human who threatens Wren or this farm will answer to me. The warriors dragged the riders away. The scarred man was sobbing. Benedict felt no pity. Thorgrim turned back to him. You are Benedict Ashford. Yes. You are a farmer. Yes. And you care for my daughter. It was not a question. Benedict glanced at Wren, who was watching him with wide eyes. Yes, he said. I do. Thorgrim's tusked mouth curved in what might have been a smile. Good. Then you will accept what I offer. What are you offering? A kingdom, Thorgrim said simply. Benedict stared. A kingdom, land, wealth. Honor. You will be made an honored member of the Red Peak clan. Our territories will be open to you. You will have a seat at my council. And you will be given a large estate on the border where both our peoples can live in peace. Benedict's mind reeled. It was too much. Impossible. I do not want a kingdom, he said. I just want to farm. Then farm, Thorgrim said, but do so with our support, with our protection, with a future that is not balanced on the edge of starvation. Father, Wren said quietly, that is too much. No, Thorgrim said. It is exactly enough. He saved you, Wren. He gave up everything, and he did so expecting nothing. That is the mark of a man worth honoring. Wren looked at Benedict. What do you want, Benedict? Benedict's throat was tight. A kingdom, riches, security. It was everything he had lost and more. But it also felt wrong. Like he was being paid for loving her, and he did love her, desperately, completely. He had not said it aloud, but he knew. I do not want a kingdom, he said again. And I do not want riches. I want, he stopped, looking at Wren. I want her if she will have me. Wren's eyes widened. Benedict, I know it is complicated, he said quickly. I know your father might object. I know the world will not understand. But I love you, Wren. I have loved you since the moment I saw you in those chains. And if you feel even a fraction of what I feel, then that is all I need. Wren was silent. For a terrible moment, Benedict thought he had misread everything. Then she crossed to him and took his hands. I love you too, she said. Her voice shook. I think I have loved you since you gave away your bull. You foolish, wonderful man. Benedict let out a shaky laugh. So, is that a yes? Yes. He pulled her into his arms and they kissed again, heedless of the orc warriors watching. When they finally pulled apart, Thorgrim was smiling, a wide and genuine expression. Then it is settled. You will marry my daughter, if she will have me. She just said she would, Thorgrim pointed out. Orcs do not waste words. Wren laughed. It was a bright, joyful sound that made Benedict's chest ache. Yes, father, I will marry him. Thorgrim nodded, satisfied. Good. Then you will marry at our clan hall, a union between our peoples. It will be remembered. And the kingdom? Benedict asked hesitantly. Still yours, Thorgrim said. But with a condition. You will use it to build a place where humans and orcs can live in peace. A bridge between our peoples. Can you do that? Benedict looked at Wren. She squeezed his hands. Yes, he said. We can do that. Thorgrim clapped him on the shoulder, nearly knocking him over. Then you are my son now, Benedict Ashford. Welcome to the Red Peak clan. The next 2 weeks were a whirlwind. Thorgrim and his warriors stayed on the farm, helping to repair and expand it. Benedict learned that the chieftain had been searching for Wren since she disappeared, sending scouts across the border. When they finally tracked her to this farm, Thorgrim had gathered his warriors and come at once. I would have burned the world to find her, he told Benedict one evening. You did what I could not. You saved her when I failed. That is a debt I can never fully repay. You do not owe me anything, Benedict said. I owe you everything. Thorgrim's expression was serious. Do not mistake generosity for weakness, Benedict. I give you a kingdom because you earned it. But more than that, I give it because I trust you. You have proven you care for my daughter, that you will protect her. That is all a father can ask. Benedict found himself liking the massive orc chieftain. Thorgrim was gruff and fierce, but he had a sharp mind and a deep love for his family. He told stories of Wren's childhood, of how she had once climbed a cliff face to steal an eagle's egg and nearly fallen to her death. She has always been fearless, he said. Too fearless. I worried she would get herself killed. She is strong, Benedict said. The strongest person I know. She gets that from her mother. They spoke of the war, too. Thorgrim was blunt. I do not trust most humans. They see us as animals. They kill our people and call it justice. But you are different. And if you can build a place where both peoples live in peace, then maybe this war can end. I will try, Benedict said. "I cannot promise success. Trying is enough." The day of the wedding arrived. Thorgrim insisted it take place at the clan hall, deep in orc territory. Benedict was nervous as they traveled north, surrounded by orc warriors. But Wren stayed close, her hand in his, and that steadied him. The clan hall was a massive structure carved into the side of a mountain, with pillars of stone and walls covered in carvings. Inside, hundreds of orcs gathered to witness the ceremony. Benedict had never felt so small. But when Wren took his hand and led him to the center of the hall, he felt only pride. The ceremony was simple but profound. Thorgrim officiated, speaking in the orcish tongue and then translating for Benedict. "Do you swear to protect her with your life?" "I do." "Do you swear to honor her above all others?" "I do." "You swear to stand with her in joy and in sorrow until death claims you?" "I do." Thorgrim turned to Wren. "And you, my daughter, do you swear the same?" "I do," Wren said. Her voice rang through the hall. "Then you are bound," Thorgrim said. "In the eyes of our clan and the gods, let no one break what has been joined." The hall erupted in cheers. Benedict and Wren kissed, and the sound of celebration was deafening. Afterward, there was a feast. Benedict ate roasted meat and drank strong ale, and he danced with Wren under the torchlight. He met her brothers, Crag and Vorak, both of whom were as large and intimidating as their father. They eyed him suspiciously at first, but Wren vouched for him, and eventually they accepted him. "You make her happy," Crag said gruffly. "That is what matters." As the night wore on, Thorgrim pulled Benedict aside. "I have a gift for you." He led Benedict outside to a corral. Inside was a massive black bull, even larger than the one Benedict had traded. "This is Stormhoof," Thorgrim said. "The finest bull in our herds. He is yours." Benedict stared. "I cannot accept this." "You can and you will. You gave up your bull to save my daughter. It is only fitting you receive a better one." "Thorgrim, do not argue," the chieftain said. "Orcs are a proud people, Benedict. We repay our debts. This bull is a small part of what you are owed." Benedict felt tears prick his eyes. Thank you, Thorgrim said, "for loving her, for seeing her as she truly is." They stood in silence for a moment, watching the bull. Then Thorgrim said, "The estate is ready. On the border, as I promised. It is large enough for a village. You and Wren will live there, and any orc or human who wishes to live in peace is welcome to join you." "A kingdom," Benedict said softly. "A kingdom of peace," Thorgrim corrected. "That is your task now, Benedict Ashford. Build something that lasts, something that outlives the war." "I will." They returned to the feast. Benedict found Wren waiting for him, her face glowing in the torchlight. "What did my father say?" she asked. "He gave me a bull and a kingdom." Wren smiled. "He likes you, I like him. Good. Because you are stuck with him now." Benedict laughed and pulled her close. "I can live with that." They left the clan hall the next morning, accompanied by a small group of orc warriors and a few human refugees who had sought sanctuary with the Red Peak clan. The estate was everything Thorgrim had promised. A large manor house overlooked a valley with fertile fields and a river running through it. There was space for crops and livestock, and room to build homes for whoever chose to settle there. It was more than Benedict had ever dreamed of. "This is ours?" Wren asked, staring. "Ours," Benedict confirmed. They spent the first few weeks settling in. Benedict planted crops with the help of the orc warriors, who proved surprisingly skilled at farming. Wren oversaw the construction of new homes, working alongside humans and orcs alike. It was strange at first, seeing the two peoples side by side. There were misunderstandings and tensions. But Benedict and Wren worked tirelessly to bridge the gaps. They held communal meals where everyone ate together. They established rules that applied equally to all. Slowly, carefully, they built something new. A community. Word spread. More humans and orcs arrived seeking refuge from the war. Some were skeptical, some were hopeful, but Benedict and Wren welcomed them all. By the end of the first year, the estate had grown into a small village. By the end of the second, it was a thriving settlement. People called it Peacefield, and it became a symbol, proof that humans and orcs could live together. The war did not end, but in Peacefield there was hope. And hope, Benedict learned, was more powerful than any weapon. 3 years after their wedding, Wren gave birth to a son. They named him Orrin. He had his mother's green skin and his father's brown eyes, and he was the most beautiful thing Benedict had ever seen. Holding Orrin for the first time, Benedict felt a surge of love so fierce it nearly brought him to his knees. "He is perfect," he whispered. "He is ours," Wren said. She looked exhausted but radiant. "Our son." Thorgrim visited a week later, arriving with a procession of orc warriors. He held Orrin carefully, his massive hands gentle. "A grandson," he said. His voice was thick. "I never thought I would see the day." "He is strong," Benedict said. "Like his mother." "And brave," Wren added. "Like his father." Thorgrim looked at them both. "You have done well, Benedict. This place, this family, you have built something that will endure." Benedict thought of the farm he had nearly lost, the bull he had traded, the choice he had made in that border market 3 years ago. It had seemed like the end of everything. Instead, it had been the beginning. "I could not have done it without Wren," he said. "And I could not have done it without you," Wren said. She took his hand, her fingers intertwining with his. "We did this together," Thorgrim smiled. "Yes, together, that is how it should be." As the years passed, Peacefield continued to grow. Orrin was followed by a daughter, whom they named Della. She had green skin like her mother and a fierce temperament to match. Benedict and Wren raised their children to value both their heritages, to see the best in both orcs and humans. And their children, in turn, became symbols of what was possible. A new generation, unburdened by the hatreds of the past. Benedict never forgot the day he traded his bull for a captive orc woman. It had been the most reckless, foolish, wonderful decision of his life. And it had given him everything. A wife he loved, children he adored, a community he was proud of, a purpose. One evening, as Benedict and Wren sat on the porch of their manor watching the sun set over Peacefield, Wren said, "Do you ever miss it, your old farm?" Benedict thought about that. The small house, the leaning barn, the quiet, lonely days. "No," he said. "I miss the simplicity sometimes, but I would not trade this for anything. Not even for your bull," he laughed. "Especially not for my bull." Wren leaned against him, her head on his shoulder. "You gave up everything for me, and I gained everything in return." "Your kingdom," she said, a smile in her voice. "Our kingdom," he corrected. He kissed the top of her head. "Ours." They sat in comfortable silence as the stars began to appear. In the distance, Benedict could hear Orrin and Della playing, their laughter bright and carefree. The fields were green, the village was thriving, and the people were at peace. It was more than Benedict had ever hoped for, more than he deserved, but it was his and Wren's and their children's. And it had all started with a choice to see a person where others saw a slave, a choice to give rather than take, a choice to love despite the cost. Benedict did not consider himself a hero. He was just a farmer who had done what he thought was right. But looking at the life he and Wren had built, he allowed himself a moment of pride. They had taken something broken and made it whole. They had turned prejudice into acceptance. They had built a kingdom not of gold or land, but of hope and love and family. And that, Benedict thought, was worth more than any prize bull could ever be. The fire crackled softly in the hearth as Benedict and Wren eventually went inside. Orrin and Della were already asleep, tucked into their beds with stories of brave warriors and kind farmers dancing in their dreams. Benedict checked on them, brushing a kiss against each of their foreheads before joining Wren in their bedroom. She was standing by the window, looking out at Peacefield. The village glowed with soft lamplight, peaceful and quiet. "What are you thinking?" Benedict asked, wrapping his arms around her from behind. "That we did something impossible," Wren said, "and made it real. We did. And I am grateful every day for you, for this life." Benedict held her tighter. "I love you, Wren Grimtooth Ashford. I love you, Benedict Ashford." They stood together, watching their kingdom, and Benedict felt a contentment so deep it was almost painful. He had started with nothing, lost everything, and found more than he had ever imagined. This was his legacy, not land or wealth, but love, family, peace, and it was enough, more than enough. It was everything. Years later, when Benedict was old and gray, he would tell Oren and Della the story of how he had met their mother, how he had traded his prize bull for a captive orc woman and gained a kingdom in return. The children would listen with wide eyes, marveling at their father's bravery and their mother's strength. And Benedict would smile and say, "It was not bravery, it was love, and love is the only thing worth trading everything for." Wren, sitting beside him, would nod. "And the only thing that truly lasts." Their hands would find each other, fingers intertwining as they had 1,000 times before. And in that moment, surrounded by the family they had built and the kingdom they had created, Benedict and Wren knew they had found something rare and precious. Something that no war, no prejudice, no hardship could ever take away. They had found each other, and that was the greatest treasure of all.